Alright, so the last Dr. Squatch rankings video I made was in November of 2023 when there were only 59 bars. So here we are, more than 2 years later, and as of February 1st, 2026, there are now 118 bars in the Dr. Squatch catalog, exactly double the amount from the previous rankings. So because there have been so many bars added to the catalog, I decided to add 2 additional tiers to the tier groups to help differentiate what I think of the bars. Hate, dislike, generic, indifferent, underwhelming, okay/decent, like, and love. In addition to the 8 tier groups, I am also adding a family bars list where I will go over bars that share a similar scent. This will help give you a better idea which bars you may or may not like. Twins will be bars that smell nearly identical. Siblings will be bars that smell similar. Cousins will be bars that share a slightly similar scent. And then we will have the mother and father and baby bars, a baby bar being a byproduct of 2 other bars. It'll make more sense as we go along. And a couple quick side notes before we start. I will have a new #1 bar because I'm going to officially retire the OG bars that they reformulated. So unfortunately, my favorite bar of all time, Gold Moss Scrub, will no longer be included in my rankings, which means I will be instead ranking the inferior Gold Moss bar in its place. And I will also be excluding the OG Drunken Pumpkin and the OG Irish Cream and Whiskey as well, both which would have definitely been in my love tier. But instead, I'll be ranking the remakes. And in case anyone was wondering, no, I will not be including the Sydney Sweeney bar because there were only 5,000 bars made. They sold out in like 10 minutes, and it was just a gimmicky cash grab, never intended to be a bar in their permanent catalog. And it seems just to be another recycled free solo scrub bar anyway, with her bathwater mixed in. And speaking of Sydney Sweeney, I just launched a new movie review channel and reviewed her newest movie, The Housemaid. I'll leave a link in the pinned comment if anyone wants to check it out. I'm procrastinating, delaying the inevitable, because we all know what's about to go down. I swore I would never do this again, but destiny has brought me back. I must return to
the forbidden box.
And there are definitely some very unwelcome additions to Satan's soapbox. I think we're going to need a bigger box. But the #1 question is, are there any new contenders who can come close to knocking off the world heavyweight Dr. Squatch Stank champion Spartan Scrub? An odor so bad, it sends skunks running for cover. Homeless shelters rejected the donation of Spartan Scrub overstock that Squatch can't sell. Multiple court cases have been documented of wives divorcing their husbands after bringing this satanic stench into the home. Who can survive this curse? No more foreplay. It's time to start the rankings, and we must begin with... I don't know if I can do this. In 2021, I came in here and gave the smackdown to that little pissant Birchwood Breeze for the World Heavyweight Stank Championship. And in 4 years, there ain't been one single challenger that can step in this ring and match my rancidity. You want to go one-on-one with the gross one? Anyone? I didn't think so. Gary, give me my title of Dr. Squatch Stank Champion. Coming in at number 118, you already know, Spartan Scrub. Spartan Scrub said they were the World Heavyweight Stank Champ. Stone Cold said, hold my beer. And new Dr. Squatch World Heavyweight Stank Champion, Stone Cold Stunner! Oh, come on, Sparty. Don't be a poor loser. He's over here pouting in the corner now. This smells like effing cigarettes. It says that it smells like beer. It doesn't smell like beer. What kind of beer smells like cigarettes? Marlboro Heineken? This seriously smells like cigarette ashes and gasoline. I'm not even kidding. This was such a missed opportunity. They could have had a nice IPA scent with charcoal and leather or something like that, which could have been phenomenal. But instead they're like, nah, we're gonna make a bar that smells like cigarettes. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating to be funny. I wish I was. This is seriously the worst scent in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog, and that says a lot. Oh, come on, Sparty. Of course, you're the #1 contender, so you'll get a rematch on the next rankings video. I mean, #2 out of 118 isn't bad. Come on, let's continue the video. Coming in at number 117. Straw Hat Brick. Come on, Sparty, I still hate you. This unholy creation is one of the foulest scents I've ever had the displeasure of sniffing. It smells acidic and smoky, like smoky urine. It smells like fabric that my cat peed on. And I'm not even joking. Coming in at number 116, Bricked Up. I hate this bar so much. It's so gross and disgusting. It smells like latex with a note of licorice. Get the new Dr. Squatch 3-bar cheap motel scent bundle. Cigarettes, pea-scented mattresses, and condoms. A hooker's dream come true. Alright, coming in at number 115, Spartan Scrub. Wait. Where'd Sparty go? Sparty, what did you do to Badger? He inhaled Sparty's toxic fumes! 911, what's your emergency? Send help quick! My Badger's dead! Your Badger's dead? Yes! How did it die? Spartan Scrub! Spartan Scrub? Yeah! What exactly is a Spartan Scrub? It's a Dr. Squatch soap! How did a soap kill your Badger? Have you smelled Spartan Scrub? Sir, calm down. Is your Badger still breathing? No, he inhaled too much Spartan Scrub! Okay, sir. You need to administer mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Ugh. Do you want to save his life or not? Okay. Come on. Don't you die on me, Badger. Don't you die on me. Sir, is he breathing? No, he just died again. Thanks for nothing. Wait! Get some Gold Moss Scrubs stat! Thanks to OG Gold Moss Scrub for bringing Badger back to life. Number 115, Spartan Scrub. Don't get down on yourself, you still stink. You're always gonna be gross, and I'll never use you in the shower. You had a good run, it's just that your nasty smoky vinegar scent just isn't quite as atrocious as the sweaty brothel scent. Alright, coming in at number 114, Grit of the Genius. Oh, this bar just smells so rancid. It smells like seaweed and fish eggs or something. It's just gross, and I was tempted to even put it lower than Spartan Scrub. It is definitely an honorary member of the official Rancid Club to go right along with Number 113, Black Hole. This one is also rancid. This one smells like rotten produce, like rotten apricots. Both of these are in the rancid club, and Straw Hat Brick is the founding president. I think this may be the most rancid smelling bar I've ever smelled in my life. Which brings us to number 112, another new release, Vecna's Curse. This reeks so bad. It smells like smoky ashes or something. At least they're consistent with the character here, because it definitely smells like something from hell. Like the bowels of hell. Like after the devil took a dump or something. And this smells like his urine. Truly a match made in hell. Next up, number 111, Raptor Rush. Yeah. This is definitely a member of the Rancid Club. Remember I said this smells like a urinal cake? This does smell like urine, but there's also like a combined note of freshness. You know, kind of like before urinal cake is used, it has like a fresh scent. And then after the boys go to town on it, then it reeks, because now that fresh scent is contaminated with a urine scent, obviously. And that's what Raptor Rush smells like. It smells like a urine-soaked urinal cake. But Straw Hat Brick just smells like urine without the note of freshness. Raptor Rush and Straw Hat Brick, a truly piss-tacular duo. And coming in at 110, Suds of Darkness. This just really reeks. It smells like cheap perfume to me. And this will be the first family bar of the video I mentioned, because it smells very similar to Black Hole. I would say they are siblings. Not identical, but very similar. Although I would say Suds of Darkness is not nearly as offensive as Black Hole. They're better off just staying away from both these brothers. They're nothing but trouble. And they stink. Coming in at number 109, Dr. Squatch is really on a roll in 2025, Skeleton Suds. This one is hard to describe. It's kind of smoky. It smells kind of like a stale cologne. I'll open it up and show you what it looks like. I mean, it's not nearly as offensive as the prior bars I've went over, but it's pretty bad. But on a positive, the texture of the bar feels good. I just can't stand the scent. But at least it doesn't smell like this or this. And next up, to conclude the hate tier, number 108, Predator Purge. And I hate doing this because I love the Predator franchise. I did a review on my movie channel for Predator Badlands, if any of you want to check that out. And another reason I hate putting this in my hate tier is because it performs really well in the shower. This has one of the best lathers in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. It's just, I just can't get past that smell. This reeks. It literally smells like dirt, like smoky dirt, and I'm not even kidding. And I hate ranking this one so low because it actually felt really good on my skin. I just didn't want my skin to smell like it afterwards. And in addition to the dirt scent, there's a very subtle note of cranberry or cherry or something. Just a very odd combination, but that smoky dirt scent is just too overpowering. Alright, so that wraps up the hate tier. Now it's time for... And kicking off to this like tier, coming in strong at number 107, another 2025 release, Coastal Mist. This smells like mildew. And it looks like it too. It just has this very cheap and synthetic scent. It smells a bit like milk of magnesia to me. But worse, there's this note that reeks a bit like sour milk. I just can't stand the scent of this bar, and the only reason that it's not in my hate tier is because it's actually not very strong. You can definitely smell it, but it's not in your face like some of the other bars in my hate tier. But the scent itself is grotesque. And unfortunately, this bar does have a cousin that I'll talk about a little later in this tier. And what else is disappointing is that this is a bar that they actually put into the full-time lineup. If there was ever a release to be a limited edition, this would be it. It's like they took sour milk and then just doused it with a bunch of cheap fragrance and then sold it and hoped no one would notice that they're actually selling a bar of sour milk. All right, number 106, Birchwood Breeze. At this point, this bar is really old. I bought this very bar when Birchwood Breeze was first released back in, I can't even remember if it was 2020 or 2021, but this bar is like 5 years old at this point. Has very little scent. So this actually is not offensive at all because the scent has faded out so much. The one positive about this bar is the exfoliant, and the texture of this bar actually feels really nice. I will give Squatch credit because Birchwood Breeze is actually very good quality. The problem for me is that when I used it in the shower, the scent exploded and it just totally turned my stomach. It literally made me nauseous. But if you like stronger scents and you don't have a sensitive stomach, then you may actually really like it. And now that this scent has faded probably by like 80%, it actually doesn't smell bad at all. But don't get me a brand new bar. Alright, number 105, Summer Citrus. This was supposed to replace the underwhelming Cedar Citrus bar, but this just went to the opposite extreme. At least Cedar Citrus smells natural. This just smells cheap and synthetic, and it's way too strong. Split the difference, please. Some have said they think this smells like Lemon Pledge, and I can see what they mean, but to me, it smells more like a generic orange soda. I was just very disappointed by this bar. And speaking of disappointing, coming in at number 104, Resistance Rinse. And this bar does have a sibling that I will get to later on. But this bar, unfortunately, just smells so cheap and artificial. Definitely not a natural scent. It smells so synthetic. I just really do not like this bar at all. Next up, we have Coastal Mist's cousin, number 103, Viserian's Freeze. I was so much looking forward to this bar, and I was utterly disappointed. This has that same nasty milky scent as Coastal Mist, just with added menthol. But I actually like this bar a little better than Coastal Mist. One thing I do like about the bar is how it looks. It looks really nice. It's just when Squatch advertised they were coming out with a menthol bar, I got my hopes up, and this one did not deliver. And it definitely does have like a very synthetic scent, but at least it doesn't smell like mildew like its cousin Coastal Mist. And keeping on the trend of disappointing bars, coming in at number 102, Root Beer Brick. I was hoping that this was going to have a really nice natural root beer scent, but nope. Instead, it smells like generic root beer candy. You know, like those cheap little root beer barrel candies you'll buy at the gas station. That's what this smells like. And surprisingly, this scent is really strong, and I had to keep it separate from my other Squatch bars because all of the other surrounding bars will smell like cheap root beer candy. I mean, it's not a terrible offensive scent or anything, it's just really disappointing. But a quick recommendation, if you do want a really good root beer bar, go to Dapper Yankee and order Root Beer Barrel. This bar is phenomenal. And I never thought that I would like a bar of soap that smells like root beer, but so if you're interested in trying a root beer bar, definitely try this one from Dapper Yankee. So much better than Dr. Squatch's. And a quick shout out to Jacob from New England Soap Reviews, because he actually sent me this bar because I needed it for the rankings and he had an extra one on hand. And he actually did a Dr. Squatch rankings video as well. So if you're into soap reviews, look up New England Soap Reviews on YouTube and check them out. So thanks, Jacob, for sending this out, even if the bar turned out to be a letdown. Alright, and closing out the dislike tier, coming in at number 101, Snowy Pine Tar. Wait, don't leave. Wait, don't riot, I'll explain. The reason this is on my dislike tier is not because this bar is bad at all. It's because the scent is so strong that it turns my stomach. The scent itself is really good. It's way too strong for a soap. It's way better for a candle. But this is very high quality, very well made, so credit to Squatch for that. And the texture feels really nice as well. And another thing I'll point out is that the scent is strong, but it doesn't smell artificial, cheap, and synthetic like so many of these other bars do. So if this is one of your favorite bars, I am not arguing with you. I am not saying that this is a bad bar at all. This actually is really good quality, which is why I hate putting it in my dislike tier. The only reason that is in my dislike tier is because I really dislike physical stomach pain. But ironically, even though it is in my dislike tier, it is a bar I actually do recommend you try for yourself. Alright, so that concludes our dislike tier, and now we're on to... So in my previous rankings video, I just put all of these bars under my indifferent tier or my dislike tier. But I noticed that some of them just smelled very generic and similar, while others were just underwhelming. And some I simply just didn't care for at all, one way or another. So I added this generic tier and an underwhelming tier to give a more accurate assessment of what I think of these bars. So, kicking off the generic tier, coming in at number 100, Suds of the Sly. I said on my previous rankings video that this bar is just very forgettable, and it is. I haven't thought about this bar since. And that's the case with all of these bars in this generic tier, just a bunch of forgettable bars that don't stand out. This Suds of the Sly bar has a similar note as Spartan Scrub, but is less offensive. It has a bit of a smoky, woodsy scent. It's just a very basic, boring, mid-generic bar, which is why it's in this tier. Although I do kind of like that shade of green. Coming in at number 99, this is The Wash. This has a very cheap, generic, gross licorice scent. But not a nice licorice scent like Twizzlers, but more of a cheap gas station candy licorice. This actually should have went into my dislike tier, but I think this is why it didn't, because number 98, Symbiote Plunge. It has that same nasty, cheap, generic note of licorice combined with some very subtle note of orange citrus or something. It's hard to describe, but whatever it is, it ain't good. It's just gross. Here, I'll show it to you real quick. Looks like a skunk. Smells like it too. And then number 97, Ghost Grit, and it also has that same note of generic licorice. But this one has a note of freshness combined. This one's a little better than the previous two, but they all share that same similar generic licorice scent, which is ultimately why I placed all three of them in the same tier. Number 96, Thousand Swords Scrub. This one smells a bit like an icy cologne. Unfortunately, it's more like a generic icy cologne. It says that it's a medium grit bar, but it feels more like a light grit to me. And that seems to be a trend with Dr. Squatch. It seems to me they misgrade their grit levels. If something's advertised as heavy grit, it feels more like medium grit. Or if it says that it's medium grit, it feels light. But then there have been some bars that were advertised as light grit, but felt more medium grit. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if some of the bars they produce don't get an adequate amount of grit like they're supposed to, or if they just don't know how to grade their grit levels accurately. But I'll speak more on that throughout the video. So this Thousand Sword Scrub bar has a cousin bar, which is number 95, King of the Bricks. This bar was one of the biggest disappointments they have ever released. I was expecting so much more from a Jurassic Park bar. Just a very cheap and artificial scent. And then they doubled down and decided to pass that same generic scent on to Thousand Sword Scrub. So what's better than one generic scent? Two! Way to represent Jurassic Park in Game of Thrones. And closing out the generic tier, number 94, Three Sword Surge. This bar isn't terrible, it just smells recycled. It has a bit of a smoky detergent scent, like a hybrid of Legendary Lather and Suds of the Sly. And it looks kind of like Suds of the Sly as well. I'm just glad it doesn't smell anything like its One Piece counterpart, Straw Hat Brick. Compared to that, this smells divine. So that concludes the generic tier, and I think this is where we transition away from the bad into the neutral. Then we'll transition into the decent, and then the good, and then the great. But now it's time for the next tier. So these are bars that I just don't really care about one way or another. Not necessarily bad, just ones that I'm neutral on. Number 93, Cowabunga Cleanse. Now I know a lot of people hate this bar, but I don't think the scent is actually bad. It just smells like oregano, like an Italian restaurant. The problem is that it's a terrible idea for a bar of soap. It really doesn't make sense. But the scent is very strong, one of the strongest in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. And so I had to store in a Ziploc bag and stash it away separately from my other Squatch bars because that oregano scent would have spread to all the other bars. Go ahead and open it and smell it. Ooh. That scent got a lot stronger. Wow. Well, I can really detect that note of tomato paste now. Whereas before, I didn't really notice it. Now it smells like a pizza. But I'm also detecting a note of detergent. I didn't detect any note of detergent when I first got this bar. Storing it away in a Ziploc bag has really summoned its stankiness. Pizza and detergent is not a good combination. I gotta put this up before it turns my stomach. Since this scent altered from when I first stashed it away, this would definitely go somewhere in my hate tier. The scent was not originally bad, but now that this detergent note is combining with that strong oregano, it is absolutely disgusting. I gotta put this up. I guess I was mistaken when I said the bad was behind us. Number 92, Flamin' Hot Brick. Same thing as a Ninja Turtles bar. Very strong scent I had to place in a Ziploc bag and store away from the other Squatch bars. Now I'm afraid to open this up and see how it smells. Enter at your own risk. This smells totally different. This smells like beer hops. I'm not even kidding. Why does it smell like beer? Yeah, it totally smells like beer now, but it did not smell anything like beer when I first got it. It says that it's made from red cornmeal. I'm going to go ahead and Google that. Does red cornmeal smell like beer? Yes, red cornmeal or any cornmeal can have a smell reminiscent of beer, particularly if it's wet, being cooked in a mash, or has gone rancid. There you go. This bar's obviously gone rancid. because it definitely smells like beer. Shut up! I can hear you all snickering at me. How did you not know cornmeal smells like beer? I just didn't. Sue me. And I better not hear any smart comments about it in my comment section or you're getting banned. I can poke fun at people all day on my channel, but no one's allowed to do it to me. So how do I feel about this bar now that the scent altered? Not good. I stand corrected. I am no longer indifferent to these two bars. I've already started the rankings video, so I'm not going to go back and rearrange my rankings, but Cowabunga Cleanse would go somewhere in my hate tier, and this Cheetos bar would go somewhere in my dislike tier. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to stash these away and get them off my desk. All right, number 91. Lumberjack Lodge. This scent is very strong and has two family bars with a similar strong scent, so that's why I put them all together in this Ziploc bag. I'll get to its relatives soon, but for Lumberjack Lodge, this is a new bar they recently added to the full-time lineup. But the scent is a huge disappointment to me. But it actually does perform really well in the shower. It feels really nice on the skin and has good grit. So it gets an A for performance in the shower, but I'd give it a D for the scent. If it wasn't so good in the shower, it would be in my dislike tier. Number 90, Sea Star Shenanigans. I am torn on this one, because it actually does have a pretty decent scent. It has a nice guava scent. It smells kind of like a wine cooler to me. But the problem with this scent is that it smells way too synthetic and artificial and comes across like a really cheap bar. It definitely doesn't seem like a natural soap for men. It feels more like a soap for kids. And Squatch has a slew of bars that smell more like children's soap than men's. At this point, Squatch should just start a separate children's lineup and make bars for kids. I mean, does this look like a bar for men? Could you see Denzel Washington or Clint Eastwood using this? Number 89, Chalky Milk. And number 88, Hot Chalky. These are identical twin bars, both medium grit and made with cocoa nibs. Both of these bars are pretty straightforward. They both just smell like a chocolate candy bar. All right, we'll see what Chalky Milk looks like, and we'll see what Hot Chalky looks like. They do look slightly different. This is Chalky Milk, this is Hot Chalky, and as you can see, Hot Chalky looks a bit grittier. And I think Hot Chalky may have a slightly stronger scent as well. Other than that, they're pretty much identical. If you do want a bar that smells like chocolate, these are your bars. Just do not eat them. Number 87, Zen Cleanse. And number 86, Lather of the Loyal. These are the two relative bars of Lumberjack Lodge that share the same Ziploc bag. They all have a very similar buttery pastry scent. But the Zen Cleanse is a little different because it has a smoky, woodsy note added. So I would say Zen Cleanse is the cousin bar. But Lather of the Loyal and Lumberjack Lodge are more like siblings. Go ahead and open these up and show you how they look. This is the Lather of the Loyal bar, and this is the Lumberjack Lodge. So the Lather of the Loyal is a smoother bar, while the Lumberjack Lodge is a grittier bar. Yeah, they both smell very similar, but Lather of the Loyal has a sweeter scent, while Lumberjack Lodge has a smokier scent. I actually prefer the Lather of the Loyal scent. It's not a bad scent, it's just very odd for a soap. It's a really dominant butter scent, like a pastry or a butterscotch candy. But ironically, in spite of both being a very odd choice for a soap scent, they both perform really well in the shower. Lather of the Loyal is a little sweeter, while Lumberjack Lodge. And closing out the indifferent tier, number 85, Cold Brew Cleanse. This bar is really confusing because it's supposed to be a coffee bar, but it doesn't really have much of a coffee scent at all. It has a sweet scent. It smells more like coffee creamer to me than coffee. I think it smells kind of like cake batter. It's not bad, it just doesn't smell like coffee. It's a heavy grit bar, and as you can see, definitely one of the grittiest bars in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. It uses coffee grounds as exfoliant, and you can really feel it in there. So technically it does have coffee beans in the ingredients, but it doesn't smell like it. So that's the end of the indifferent tier. Now on to... So this underwhelming tier is basically a collection of bars that are not necessarily bad, but bars that I had high hopes for but didn't deliver and turned out to be huge disappointments. And kicking off the underwhelming tier, number 84, Alpine Sage. When I first tried Dr. Squatch back in 2019, this bar was called Nautical Sage. And it was hyped up on their commercials as one of their best scents, so I was really looking forward to it. But then when I got the bar, I was utterly perplexed what all the hype was about because it hardly even had any scent. Then they changed it to Alpine Sage, and I thought it was going to be new and improved, but it still hardly has any scent. What was the point in changing it? It has a very faint scent that slightly resembles old man cologne or something, with maybe a very, very subtle note of pine, but so subtle that it's hardly noticeable. The scent is about as exciting as its appearance. Number 83, Mountain Meadow. This is another bar that Squatch recently added to their regular lineup, and I don't know why. It has a very light floral scent. There's nothing technically wrong with it. It's just a very dull scent and feels more like a women's soap than men's. It is pretty good in the shower. Good lather and feels nice on the skin, so it has that going for it. But the scent itself is just very lackluster and definitely doesn't come across like a soap for men. I just realized I think this bar has a cousin bar. I'll follow that up in a few minutes. Number 82, Adamantium Scrub. A Wolverine bar? You're getting my hopes up, only to be let down. It's not a bad scent. It's just underwhelming. I was expecting more, something exciting and unique. It has a subtle leather note, which isn't bad, but the problem is they didn't combine it with another note to make it stand out. It's a heavy grit bar and pretty good in the shower, so performance isn't the problem. The problem is that the scent isn't anything special and is a bit generic and is a massive letdown. And speaking of massive letdowns, number 81, Godzilla Grit, another major disappointment. What is this supposed to be? Another plain Jane scent. Why collaborate with all of these huge intellectual properties only to deliver a lackluster product? You can create an original bar and do that, like you did with Mountain Meadow, but not Godzilla. This character deserved better. And you made the Godzilla bar pink? Am I a joke to you? This isn't a bad scent, but it smells a bit like a subtle perfume. It feels like another bar better suited for women than men. This scent would have been better for one of their jukebox bars, which is Dr. Squatch's women's brand. And I have no problem with Dr. Squatch creating a women's lineup. Just keep it separate from the men's. Number 80, Fight Scrub. Now, the pink on this bar makes sense because it's supposed to represent bubblegum and smells like it. It has a note of a bubblegum scent. Not a bad bar, but just another bar that comes across more like a bar for kids than adults. Alright, so let me preface this next one by saying this is probably the most disappointing bar that they've ever released. Not because it's the worst bar, but because of the level of excitement I had when they announced they were coming out with this kind of bar. I'm still recovering. Number 79, Nautical Nonsense. I was so hyped when they were coming out with the pineapple bar. I thought it was going to be one of my favorites, but there's just really nothing here. It's one of the lightest scents in their entire catalog. Remember those old Wendy's commercials? Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
Well, Dr. Squatch, where's the pineapple? Because it ain't here. It looks like a pineapple, but don't smell like one. It's about as weak as Alpine Sage, just a tad sweeter. You know what I just realized? Remember I just said Alpine Sage used to be called Nautical Sage and I complained about how weak the scent was? Well, what have many of us been complaining about Dr. Squatch the last couple years? Recycling so many scents, right? I am thinking they may have actually recycled the old Nautical Sage and renamed it Nautical Nonsense and just added a very subtle note of pineapple to it, which you can hardly detect, by the way. What's the name? Nautical Nonsense. I think Squatch is trolling us. Number 78, Spidey Suds. Another major letdown. A Spider-Man bar and a blueberry bar. Sign me up. I had been wanting Squatch to come out with a pineapple bar and a blueberry bar, and somehow they managed to whiff on both. The bar isn't bad, but the scent is just far too subtle. You can slightly detect a light note of blueberry, but it leaves a lot to be desired. I think the bar looks decent, but overall, just another disappointing bar from another massive intellectual property. Number 77, Area 51. This scent is decent, it's just very light. It's not bad at all, there's just not much to it. I was expecting more from a bar called Area 51. Number 76, Freedom Fresh. This is actually a good scent. It's just really weak. I don't ever recall hearing anyone say they don't like the scent. What you hear everyone complaining about is how weak the scent is. This is a bar they should have reformulated and made the scent stronger, and it could be really good. Make a note, Squatch. Boost the bar on this scent, and I think it'd become a fan favorite. Number 75, Eucalyptus Greek Yogurt. This is a bar that they discontinued, so is no longer available. They replaced it with a new eucalyptus bar called Rainforest Rapids, which I will cover in a few minutes. I think Rainforest Rapids was a good addition to the catalog, but instead of discontinuing this, I think they should have transferred it to their women's lineup because I think women would love it. I actually like this bar for the quality, it's just that the scent is really weak. It's not bad, it's just hardly noticeable. But it was actually one of their best bars for your skin, so for that reason I wish they kept it around. Number 74, Cedar Citrus, another bar they discontinued and replaced with Summer Citrus, which was a huge downgrade. The problem with Cedar Citrus is just that the scent was really weak, but I thought it was good quality and felt like a natural soap. Whereas the new Summer Citrus bar is loud and synthetic and doesn't seem natural at all. I really wish Squatch had kept Cedar Citrus and just did a reformulation and made the scent a little stronger. But instead, they replaced it with a new citrus bar that smells like cheap perfume. Alright, number 73, in closing out the underwhelming tier, Scrub Smash. Okay, so this is what I was talking about a few minutes ago when I said that Dr. Squatch doesn't seem to grade their grit levels accurately. On my previous rankings video, I had Scrub Smash much lower because I said that when I used it in the shower, it pretty much had no grit, even though it's listed as a heavy grit bar. But then afterwards, I used it in the shower again, and this time it actually did have a lot of grit, and it was a lot better. And I have read other Squatch customers saying the same thing, that some of the medium or heavy grit bars don't have any grit when you first use them, but that the grit comes out in the second or third shower, which was the case for me with Scrub Smash. But Dr. Squatch needs to do something about this. If you advertise a bar as having grit, it shouldn't take multiple showers before the grit surfaces. So even though Scrub Smash performed in the shower a lot better than the first time I used it, it's in the underwhelming tier because the scent smells recycled. It has a synthetic detergent scent, which I just don't think matches the concept of what a Hulk bar should be. But the grit was really good the second time I used it in the shower. And I actually really like this shade of green, one of the prettiest bars in the Squatch catalog. I think this bar would be so much better if it had more of a natural scent opposed to an unappealing detergent scent. A scent that was recycled in a cousin of the next bar we're about to go over. But for now, that concludes the underwhelming tier, which takes us to... Alright, kicking off the okay/decent tier, number 72, Legendary Lather, which is the cousin of the Hulk bar that I was referring to on the previous entry. But I would say they're more distant cousins. They both have a detergent scent, but they're not identical. Legendary Lather has more of a grassy detergent scent. And this is what it looks like up close. I'm not a fan of either of these scents, but both of these bars do perform very well in the shower, but for different reasons. The Hulk bar is good because of its grit, whereas Legendary Lather is good for its rich lather. I'd say Legendary Lather has the second best lather in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. Which one would I say is first? I'll get to that in a few minutes. And a quick FYI, when you use Legendary Lather in the shower, you have to grip the bar really tight because the lather makes this bar extremely slippery. Number 71, the One Ring Rinse. So this bar has 3 cousin bars that I think are all better than this one. We'll get to them in a few minutes, and then I'll talk a little more about this one when I compare them. Number 70, Diamond Scrub. Honestly, there's just not a whole lot to this bar. It's not a good bar, it's not a bad bar, it's just okay. It's like a very subtle, smoky detergent scent. It actually reminds me of that new car smell. But overall, it's just not a very memorable bar, but it's okay. Number 69, F-150 Tough Scrub. Now this is a very fresh scent. Unfortunately, it smells a bit like a generic fresh scent, like it came from Temu or something. But the reason it's not in my generic tier is because this isn't actually a bad bar. It's just too synthetic for my like and feels like it's actually imitating what a fresh bar should smell like. Number 68, Rainforest Rapids. This is the bar that replaced Eucalyptus Greek Yogurt. And it's definitely a stronger scent, but honestly, it's not anything to brag about. It's okay. It's like a fresh woodsy scent. It kind of reminds me a bit of Irish Spring, but like the previous bar I just went over, it's a bit more synthetic than I like. It's not bad, it's just okay, which is why it's in this tier. Number 67, Sarge Soap. And number 66, Free Solo Scrub. And number 65, Sierra Storm. These are triplet bars. They all smell nearly identical. Free Solo Scrub here came out first. It actually just smells like a pine forest. It actually smells a lot like Squatch's Pine Cologne Woodland Pine. Then Sarge Soap came out, and it smells nearly identical, except I would say this one is a tad louder and smells a bit more synthetic, whereas Free Solo Scrub smells a bit more natural to me. So those two bars were limited edition. Then Squatch came out with Sierra Storm and added it to the full-time lineup. And it smells nearly identical to the other two, except this one seems slightly toned down, and like it may have a very subtle note of smokiness added to it. I actually prefer this one because it's a little softer than the other two. And a quick shout out to Little Mac JTV, who actually sent me this bar of Sierra Storm to help me compile my rankings. So I appreciate him helping me out. He also does soap reviews on his channel and recently made a Squatch rankings video himself, but he only ranked the full-time bars, which are like 21 if I'm not mistaken. But if you like soap reviews, look him up on YouTube and consider subscribing. Number 64, another bar from the Harry Potter collection, You Know Who. I actually don't know who because I've never watched the Harry Potter movie. This scent is a bit plain. I wouldn't say that it's bad, but I wouldn't really say it's good either. Show you what it looks like up close. It has a bit of a smoky detergent scent with like a really subtle note of pine. But it's a bit generic to me. But the reason it's not in my generic tier is because I like this bar better than most of those in my generic tier. But I don't like it quite enough to place it in a higher tier. It belongs here in the okay tier because it's just okay. Number 63, the new Drunken Pumpkin. And to clarify, this is not the same scent as the OG Drunken Pumpkin. Now they did release a bar that smells nearly identical to this, and we'll get to that one later. But this Drunken Pumpkin has a totally different scent and is not nearly as good as the OG Drunken Pumpkin. Now this one does actually have more of an authentic pumpkin scent, as the OG Drunken Pumpkin was actually very light on the pumpkin scent and had a stronger cologne scent, which I think was to us guys what catnip is to cats. So yeah, we'll call it man nip. That's what OG Drunken Pumpkin was to us. When they stopped selling it, we were out here in these streets trying to find a bar. Hey man, you know where I can get some of that Drunken Pumpkin, man? Oh yeah, I got what you're looking for. Here you go. Oh yeah. What the is this? There's this subtle note that smells like powder to me. This smells kind of like a powdery pumpkin with like a hint of citrus. Overall, this was a huge disappointment. Not a bad bar, but just not nearly as good as the OG. Number 62, and another Harry Potter bar, The Chosen One. Now, I do know that this is the Harry Potter character. Hope you guys are proud of me. Okay, as I was just revisiting this bar, I realized this actually has a cousin bar. And it may surprise you, but it smells a bit like Bricked Up. But this one smells much better. First off, it's not as loud as Bricked Up. It has a nice musky cologne scent with a note of powder and a hint of citrus, actually similar to the Drunken Pumpkin bar I just went over. This has a powdery orange citrus note underneath a pumpkin detergent scent, and this has that same powdery orange citrus note underneath a musky cologne scent. This one is hard to gauge because I want to put it in my like tier, but it's just a tad too synthetic for me, which downgrades it to just my okay tier. Number 61, Bronco Brick. I actually like this one much more than I expected. It has a nice leather scent with a very subtle smoky note, but it also has a detergent note which I don't care for. So that slides it down a few notches and ultimately lands in the upper half of my okay tier. Number 60, Count Sudzilla. This has a synthetic scent, but it's not too strong. I actually like it pretty well. It has a bit of a sweet scent, like some kind of fruit or something. Maybe a note of cherry or possibly dragon fruit like they use in Resistance Rinse. But one thing I don't like about it is that the red dye in this bar runs in the shower. I guess that was done by design to represent blood. But ultimately, not something I want to see running down my leg in the shower, so that drops it down in my rankings. And we have actually now reached the halfway mark of the video. We are only halfway through. Number 59, Moon Rock. This is one of the more interesting and unique bars because it's very good quality and probably the grittiest bar in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. But the scent profile just doesn't make sense. It smells like candy. It smells like Laffy Taffy to me. Like blue raspberry Laffy Taffy. And that is what I don't understand about this bar. Why take a bar that's so gritty and then give it a scent for kids? It's not a bad scent. It's just a bit confusing to me because I really don't understand where they were trying to go with this bar. I feel like with a better scent, this could have been a top-notch bar, but with the children's scent, downgrades it to just okay. Number 58, Bow Chicka Wow Wow. This is one of the simplest bars that they've ever made. It simply smells just like chocolate-covered strawberries. Nothing more, nothing less. I think it smells pretty good, but with some added grit, that could have elevated this bar to another level. So I feel like they didn't make this bar as good as it could have been. But it's near the top of my okay tier, very close to my like tier. So overall, I think it's very decent. Number 57, Werewolf Wash. Okay, this is going to be a complex take. I like this scent, but I think it's too loud and needs to be toned down. I got 2 of these bars when they first came out like 3 years ago. The first bar I used and I thought it was a little too loud and smelled a little like a synthetic perfume. But this bar I kept with my collection and did not use. As you can see, I will show you, this is unused and this is brand new. And now that the bar is older, the scent is toned down and smells more like a natural cologne. I think Squatch should reformulate this bar, tone the scent down, and this bar would be so much better and probably make my love tier. With that in mind, it does have a cousin bar, and we'll get to that soon. Number 56, and as of the time of recording this video, February 2026, this is one of their 2 most recent releases, the Bart Simpson bar, Squishy Supreme. And in a shocking twist, I will get to the Homer Simpson bar later as it ranked much higher in my rankings than I expected. As for the Bart bar, I like this scent pretty well. It has a nice sour apple scent. It smells exactly like apple shampoo to me. Some people have said that they think it smells like an apple Jolly Rancher, and I can see that as well. I think this bar is very good quality. It looks good, and the texture feels nice. But ultimately, the reason I didn't rank it higher is because it smells a tad too synthetic for me. It's not offensive or loud. It just takes it down a notch and slides down to my okay tier. But near the very top of my okay tier. And number 55, closing out the okay/decent tier, Fuego Fresh. Okay, first off, This bar smells very natural. It doesn't smell synthetic at all. It smells like authentic jalapenos. Unfortunately for me, I'm personally not a big fan of jalapenos, so I'm not crazy about the scent, but I do appreciate the quality and creativity of this bar. There is also a very subtle note of stark cleanse in this bar. Combined with the notes of jalapeno, I think makes her a very unique scent. But the quality is what makes this bar truly stand out from most others in the Dr. Squatch catalog. Unfortunately, I think what slides this down a notch for me is that the performance in the shower was not as strong as I was expecting. If it was grittier in the shower and felt better on my skin, this would be somewhere in the middle to the top of my like tier. But overall, this is a great bar. It just slipped in my rankings because it felt underwhelming to me in the shower. And that concludes the okay/decent tier. And now it's time for... And kicking off the light tier, a trio of total moisture bars for those with sensitive skin. Number 54, Shea Butter. Number 53, Mango Butter. And number 52, Green Tea Butter. These are triplet bars because they're all very similar. Now, these bars do not have much scent, but that's not their purpose. These bars are for those who struggle with dry or sensitive skin, or could be good for someone who wants a healthy soap without much scent. Now, these bars do technically have scent. I'll show you what it looks like. But it's very light. Yeah, it's hardly noticeable. You know what I just realized? This smells almost identical to eucalyptus Greek yogurt. It looks like eucalyptus Greek yogurt too. Is it possible that this is eucalyptus Greek yogurt repackaged? It smells nearly identical and looks nearly identical. And remember, I told you that eucalyptus Greek yogurt was really good on your skin. And this is the shea butter one. So if you were a fan of eucalyptus Greek yogurt, try the shea butter total moisture bar. It seems like it's practically the same bar to me. These triplet bars are some of the very best for your skin in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. And I appreciate Dr. Squatch making these. So that is why they're in my like tier. Number 51, Riddler Enigma. Now, I like this bar, but this was the first bar I started noticing Squatch using a louder synthetic scent. This was released in March of 2022. So I am thinking it was around that time a lot of their bars started smelling more synthetic and less natural. Now, just because a bar smells synthetic doesn't automatically mean that it's bad. For me, they're usually bad when they're both synthetic and loud, like Summer Citrus. But if it's toned down, I can tolerate it. Like the Bart bar, this is synthetic, but it's toned down, which makes it much more tolerable. And another example is Resistance Rinse, which actually is a sibling bar of the Riddler Enigma. Both synthetic scents, but the Enigma bar has a softer synthetic scent, while the Resistance Rinse bar is louder. And the Riddler has a nice note of sour apple, and the Resistance bar doesn't. But aside from the note of sour apple, they nearly smell identical, which was when I first started suspecting that Squatch started recycling scents. And it made sense because Resistance Rinse came out in August of 2022, just 5 months after the Riddler bar. And I'll show you what it looks like up close real quick. Still smells good even after nearly 4 years. Number 50, Energy Bar. Now this is the bar that should have been Summer Citrus. It has a nice citrus scent and it is synthetic, but it's not nearly as loud as Summer Citrus. And here's what it looks like up close. I like it, but I feel like I may have loved it if it was a little more natural and a little less synthetic. But overall, I think it's a good bar. Far better than this. Number 49, Irish Cream and Whiskey. This has to be one of the biggest disappointments in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. And you may be wondering why it's in my like tier if it's such a huge disappointment. Because I do actually like this bar. This bar is good in its own right. It just cannot compare to the OG Irish Cream and Whiskey. I don't have an OG Irish Cream and Whiskey to display, but it's on the same level as the OG Drunken Pumpkin. It smelled insanely good, just like this. And the new recipe simply cannot compare. It just does not smell the same. The OG Irish Cream and Whiskey was a completely unique scent. I haven't smelled anything quite like it from any other soap company. But there is a bar from Dapper Yankee, the Dapper Dawn, and this one actually reminds me of the OG Irish Cream and Whiskey. Of course, I'm not saying this is as great as the OG Irish Cream and Whiskey, but it's really good. One of the best scents from Dapper Yankee. I actually made a review for this bar if you want to go to my videos tab and check it out after this video. Number 48 from the Stranger Things collection, Hellfire and Beyond. I think this bar is the most complex scent in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. It has so many notes, it's hard to describe. First off, there's a strong smoky scent. But it's not like ashes or charcoal. It's more like a smoky, tangy barbecue sauce. Then combined with a synthetic perfume scent, which by itself I think would be way too loud. But when it's combined with the smoky barbecue scent, the smoky note actually mellows out the perfume note and then balances out the scent. As I said, it's very complex. This bar smells like a complicated relationship. Two opposing notes merged together in what seems like it could be really good or really bad. I couldn't decide if I liked this scent or hated this scent. I was planning on putting this in my dislike tier, but then I used it in the shower, and that synthetic perfume scent actually morphed into a natural cologne scent. As I said, this is a very complex bar, and the scent lingered on my skin for hours after the shower and smelled really good. So the bar performed really well in the shower, and even though it says that it's a medium grit bar, it felt more like a light grit bar to me. Another example of Squatch not accurately grading their grit levels. But overall, after using it in the shower, I decided that I liked it, which is why it's in my like tier. And speaking of bars with inaccurate grit level grades, number 47, Ruthless Rinse. This is listed as heavy grit, but I didn't think it seemed like heavy grit last time I used it. So I went back and used it again a couple days ago to test it out, and again, this did not feel like a heavy grit bar. I felt some grit, but it was more like a medium, possibly a light grit. On another note, this is our first mother bar, and it's also a sibling bar. I will go into more detail later in the video. Number 46, Sinister Scrub. This one has a lot of relatives. This is our first baby bar, and I'll go into more detail about that once we get to its parents' bars. And this is the cousin bar of Werewolf Wash, which I previously mentioned. They share a similar scent, but are not identical. I should hate this bar. It definitely has a synthetic scent, but it's not overpowering. It smells like apple cobbler to me. This bar is funny because it's called Sinister Scrub, so you're expecting like some really dark notes like charcoal and ashes or something like that, but nope, it smells like apples and cinnamon. There is nothing more sinister than apples. Number 45, another Stranger Things bar, experiment number 11. And just like Hellfire and Beyond, this is also a very complex scent. But this scent is much lighter. It has a nice floral note and a really nice subtle lemon note. Here, I'll show you what it looks like up close. And this is the cousin bar of Mountain Meadow that I mentioned earlier. Now, I would say they are distant cousins. They aren't identical, but they both share a light floral lemon scent. And this definitely does smell synthetic, but it's not too loud. I like it, but if it smelled a little more natural, I think I'd like it a lot more. Number 44, Batman Brick. I love this scent. It has a nice leather note, along with a note of cream or something. It's kind of hard to describe. But the problem with this bar is that when I use it in the shower, the scent gets way too strong and upsets my stomach. The good news is that this bar now actually has a brother bar. We'll talk more about that later in the video. On a side note, I just realized something. I was just saying how nothing smells like the OG Irish cream and whiskey. But I just noticed this Batman Brick actually smells very similar. It's not as good, but it's in the neighborhood. And this bar just smells so good. It's from 2022, so it's nearly 4 years old. So the scent has died down, and now it's just right. It's perfect. Same thing I alluded to about Werewolf Wash. If this bar was toned down, it would not only be in my love tier, it would be in my top 10. This smells so freaking good. But more on this when I get to its brother in the love tier. Number 43, and the last bar in the Stranger Things collection, and of course, this scent is complex as well, Squawk Signal. This has a similar floral scent as experiment number 11, but it's combined with a note of cherry coke. I like the cherry cola scent, but I feel like it clashes a bit with the floral scent. It's an odd combination, and I don't quite understand why they put these two notes together. I'll show you what it looks like up close. I really like the way this bar looks. I like this bar, but I feel like it could have been better if the cherry cola note was combined with some other type of note that would have complemented it better. Some kind of natural musk opposed to floral. Overall, I'd say the Stranger Things collection was pretty good. Not great, but good. Of course, with the exception of Vecna's Curse. Number 42, Drogon's Blaze. Number 41, Stark Cleanse. And number 40, Brick of the Brave. Stark Cleanse and Brick of the Brave are twins. They are nearly identical. And Drogon's Blaze is their sibling bar. And as I mentioned previously, the One Ring Rinse is their cousin bar. These 4 bars all share a similar scent. It's kind of hard to describe. It smells a bit like a subdued cologne. It reminds me of a cologne called 1 Million by Paco Rabanne. But I would say that the One Ring Rinse is definitely the worst of the bunch. It has an added note of orange, and then another note that smells like grass or something. And here's what it looks like up close. And then Drogon's Blaze has a stronger synthetic detergent scent. And I'll show you what this one looks like up close. It looks nearly identical to the One Ring Rinse. Here they are side by side. One Ring Rinse, Drogon's Blaze. Wow, what creativity, Squatch! And then Stark Cleanse has a bit of a powdery note. And why does it look like I'm smelling the exact same bar? Why do they all look the same? Look at this, they all look exactly the same. Still doubt that Dr. Squatch is recycling bars? And then the Brick of the Brave smells nearly identical to Stark Cleanse, except it has a smoky note added, which makes it stand out a bit more. And hey, at least this one looks a little different. Now, I would personally rank Brick of the Brave the highest of these 4 because of the performance in the shower. I thought that it felt really good on the skin. Not that any of these were bad, but just that Brick of the Brave was a little better to me. But once again, you've got these huge intellectual properties: Avengers, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter, and failing to deliver a single great bar. At least 1 or 2 of these should have made my love tier. Alright, I am now moving into a deeper phase of the like tier. All of the bars that I just covered could have just as easily been in my okay/decent tier. But now we're getting to the bars that I really like and inching closer to the love tier, which is really what makes these rankings videos worth it. It's all uphill from here. Number 39, Mars Bar. This one is actually really good quality. I'll show you what it looks like. It has a pretty nice cinnamon scent, and what I really like about this bar is the strength of the scent is just right. Not too strong, not too weak, and it smells natural and not synthetic, so I really appreciate that about this bar. And this bar now has a brother and a cousin. We'll get to those momentarily. Number 38, another WWE bar, Mysterio Magic. This has a nice lime scent. It actually smells like a lime margarita. I think it smells pretty good. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. It says that it's a light grit bar, but again, Squatch mislabels these grit levels. That actually looks more like heavy grit. I'm not sure exactly what those little pieces are, but they feel like little pieces of cat litter or something. And you can really feel it in there. And there's another new bar that actually uses this same kind of grit that we'll get to in a few minutes. Also, Mysterio Magic has a big brother, which is number 37, Alien Awakening. This also has a lime scent and smells a bit like Mysterio Magic, but the difference is that this one has an added note of smokiness, which makes the scent stronger, which is why I referred to it as Mysterio Magic's big brother. This is a very complex bar. The green portion here smells like lime, while the black portion smells like smoky charcoal. And these scents really open up in the shower and merge together and smell really good. And this bar feels great on the skin, so this one is excellent in the shower. It says that it's medium grit, but it feels more light grit to me. It's definitely more of a smooth bar than gritty. And some have said they think this is a brother to another bar that we'll get to in the love tier. Number 36, Oogie Boogie's Brew, which is the brother bar of Mars Bar that I just mentioned. They both have a really nice cinnamon scent. This smells like Big Red chewing gum to me, but it's a very complex scent as it has other notes as well. And I detect a subtle tropical note. It smells like fruit punch or something. It works though, it smells good. And I also detect a note of pistachio. It has a Christmassy scent. And these bars have a distant cousin that I'll get to soon. But first, number 35, Crypto Cleanse. And this is the bar that I was talking about earlier that has a stronger lather than Legendary Lather. Crypto Cleanse has the strongest lather of any bar in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. Go ahead and show you what it looks like up close. When you use this bar in the shower, hold on to it for dear life because it will slip right out of your hand. Aside from that, this is one of the most creative bars that Dr. Squatch has ever produced. I honestly think it's one of the most unique bars I've ever used from any natural soap company. It has a nice banana and mint scent, a scent that I haven't smelled before, but it actually smells just like banana nut bread to me. But the only problem with this bar is that the scent gets too strong for me in the shower and turns my stomach. If it wasn't for that, this would easily be in my love tier. As is, I have it ranked number 35, but if it didn't turn my stomach, it'd be somewhere between my top 10 and 15. This is one of Squatch's best creations, and this is what natural soap is supposed to be about. Quality and creativity, and that's exactly what this bar is. Number 34, Bay Rum. And this is the distant cousin bar of Oogie Boogie's Brew and Mars Bar I was just talking about. It has that same note of cinnamon. It smells really good, along with some other spices. And Bay Rum is the mother bar to Sinister Scrub. And I'll go into more detail once we get to the father bar. I love the Bay Rum scent, but the only problem I have with it, which is going to seem very surprising coming from me, But what they actually need to do is boost the scent of this bar. It smells great. It just needs to be a tad stronger. And to be honest, it's very underwhelming to me in the shower. I want this scent to open up more. I want my entire bathroom, no, I want my entire house to smell like bay rum. Not saying to make it synthetic, just saying that whatever you are using, just make the scent a little stronger. And honestly, I have no idea why Squatch has not yet made a bay rum cologne that would be phenomenal. Number 33, and another bar that I think they need to boost the scent of, Frosty Peppermint. I love the scent of this bar. It just smells like pure peppermint. The problem is that the scent is too weak. It's especially weak in the shower. The scent doesn't open up at all and is hardly noticeable. And it says that they have cooling menthol crystals, and maybe it does, but they were pretty underwhelming. I didn't even notice them. This is a very smooth, zero grit bar, but I honestly think if they added some grit, it would make the bar a lot better. Yes, this bar is underwhelming in the shower, but the reason it's not in my underwhelming tier is because even though it is a light scent, you can smell peppermint, opposed to the SpongeBob pineapple bar where you can hardly smell any scent. So it's not this bad. At least you can smell peppermint. So this is another bar I think that Squatch should reformulate, and if they do it right, it could easily be on my love tier. Number 32, and the first of the 2 liquid death bars, Dirt Destroyer. This is just a very clean and fresh bar with an aquatic type scent. It smells a bit like blue agave to me and has a subtle note of musk. I think it's pretty good. It's a very smooth zero grit bar that offers a very deep clean in the shower. It has a really nice texture. Here, you can really see those chunks of Dead Sea salt or whatever that is. It looks gritty, but you don't really feel any grit. It's just very smooth, and it's really good in the shower. This is what I was expecting from Nautical Sage, not this. Number 31, Flannel Forest. So this is another complex bar. So many different notes coming and going on this one. The scent itself is good, but it needs to be toned down. It's a bit too loud for me. It smells like a dessert, like a pie or something that you'd have on Thanksgiving or Christmas. But at the same time, it smells like perfume. It smells like a pecan pie perfume. And it also has like a subtle note of cranberry and a subtle note of bubble gum. I told you this was a complex bar. But the strength of this bar is in the shower. That loud perfume scent opens up and morphs into a nice warm dessert scent. It actually smells really good. And this bar has a great lather and it feels really good on your skin, and then the scent lingers for hours afterwards. The scent is a bit too loud when it's dry, but once you lather it up, the scent mellows and is really good. If the scent wasn't so loud when it's dry, this would be in my love tier. But because of the great performance in the shower, it's high up on my like tier. This is a bar that you need to experience and see what you think for yourself. All right, number 30, and probably the biggest surprise in these rankings, how high I have this bar, a bar that I didn't expect to rank this high, but after using it in the shower, I became a huge fan, and that is the Homer bar, Donut Delirium. I know this totally goes against my usual preferences, but I really like this bar in the shower. And I actually like this scent. It smells like cinnamon. It's supposed to smell like a donut, and I guess it does to some, but to me, it smells more like cereal, like cinnamon cereal. Donuts are moist and cereal is dry, and this smells dry like cereal opposed to moist like donuts. At least that's how my brain interprets it. Or my nose interprets it. But what really won me over was how good this bar felt on my skin in the shower. But let me give you a quick warning about the grit. Now this is labeled as a light grit bar, but just like the Mysterio Magic bar, it has those same little sharp pieces of exfoliant in there. So this is what these little pieces of grit look like. Does that look like light grit to you? As I've been saying, Dr. Squatch doesn't seem to grade their grit levels accurately. Of course, it's not really a big deal. If you already know in advance that this bar has these little sharp pieces of grit, it's fine because you know not to scrub very hard. But if one looks at the box and sees light grit and then just hops in the shower and then scrubs their body with any kind of velocity, they're probably going to cut themselves. So just a fair warning in advance, but once you know not to scrub too hard, it feels really good on your skin in the shower. And I just accidentally discovered something. $1 million idea right here. Take the scent of this bar and combine with the scent of Flannel Forest. These smell insanely good together. These two bars need to mate and have a baby bar. Number 29, Dark Knight Scrub. This is a bar I didn't care for on first impression. Just not a fan of the scent. It's not terrible, but just not very appealing to me personally. It has a bit of a powdery floral scent combined with a subtle note of musk or something. It's kind of hard to describe. But then I use this in the shower and it feels so good on the skin. I absolutely love the performance in the shower. It feels great and has the perfect amount of grit. Kind of a nice light / medium grit. It's just right. I like the scent a little better since it opened up in the shower, but I'm still not a big fan. But the performance in the shower elevates it high up on my like tier. Number 28, Dark Side Scrub. This is a father bar that we'll go over when we get to its baby bar. I know a lot of people don't like this bar, but I really appreciate the creativity. The black portion of the bar having a smoky charcoal scent, while the pink portion has a dragon fruit scent. The same dragon fruit scent from Ruthless Rinse, who is the mother of their baby bar coming up. So the black portion smells like charcoal, which is really good for cleaning your skin, and then the pink portion smells sweet. And although the scents are very different, they complement each other well. And I wouldn't argue with someone who says they don't like this scent, that's fine. But I like the way Squatch experimented with something different, which is why it's so high on my like tier. More on this bar in a few minutes. Okay, so now we are hitting my top 5 in the like tier. And let me just say that these next 5 are borderline love tier. They're very close. Number 27 in the second Liquid Death bar that I like even more than the previous one, Grime Reaper. This one smells like iced tea. Lemon iced tea to be exact. Combined with a nice subtle woodsy / musk note. The strength is perfectly balanced, not too strong, not too soft. It doesn't have that ultra synthetic scent like a lot of these bars do, so of course I appreciate that. It just smells nice and very natural. I like it a lot, which is why it's in my top 5 of my like tier. Number 26, another lemon scent, Nightfall Nectar. And this one is really nice and mellow. It has a subtle note of lemon and a subtle note of lavender. It reminds me a bit of their Bliss Brick that came out a couple years ago. But I don't know if they'd be family, maybe like second or third generation cousins. They have that note of lavender in common, but with this added note of citrus, I think they actually do smell pretty different. This is how you make a citrus bar, softer and natural, not loud and synthetic. Number 25, Liberty Lather. Okay, I think this bar may actually have a cousin bar. Yeah, I would say these are cousin bars. Get Dirt Destroyer back open. Yeah, these smell very similar, except Liberty Lather is a little softer. Liberty Lather has a nice fresh scent, but that's not what stands out about this bar. My first impression out of the box wasn't very high. It just seemed like an average bar. Not bad, but not anything special. And then I used it, and it instantly became a favorite of mine based off performance in the shower. It feels so good on the skin, and you can see those ingredients in there. And the texture is so nice. This became one of my favorite bars just based off the way it feels. The only reason it's not in my love tier is just because I'm not really crazy about the scent. But it's one of my top bars for performance in the shower. And closing out the like tier are two brother bars. Number 24, Clown Prince Rinse. And number 23, its brother, Infinity Brick. I am ranking these together because honestly, it's a toss-up between these two, and I'll explain why. They are brother bars based off how they smell, but I think one smells slightly better than the other, but the other one performs better in the shower, which is why it's a wash for me. No pun intended. Starting with the Joker bar, it has a fruity scent, like subtle notes of grape and cherry. It smells a bit like Bazooka Joe bubblegum. And then the Thanos bar comes out, and it recycles that same fruit scent, but it adds a subtle note of detergent, which takes the scent down a notch for me. So the Joker bar has a sweeter candy scent, while the Thanos bar has a note of detergent, so I like the Joker scent better. But then when I used the Joker bar in the shower, I was a bit underwhelmed. The scent didn't really alter, and it didn't stand out in any way. Honestly, it was pretty disappointing. And I'll show you what it looks like up close. But then when I used the Thanos bar, it had nice grit and felt really good on the skin. Show you what this looks like up close. The Thanos bar says that it's a heavy grit bar, but it didn't seem heavy to me. It seemed more like a nice medium, which is perfectly fine for me. So Joker smells better, Thanos performs better. So it's basically a tie. But if I had to pick a winner, I would pick the Thanos bar because the difference in performance is greater than the difference in scent. And that concludes the like tier, which means it's finally time for what makes the suffering of the first half of this video worth it in the end. These upcoming bars are the reason I haven't quit on Dr. Squatch. So let's get to... Okay, so before I get into the love tier, I just wanted to say that I locked these rankings in on February 1st as I was prepping this rankings video. Making this video the way that I did is a process and takes time. So once I start shooting this video, I can't go back later and add any new releases that may come out while I'm still making the video. I was hoping there would be no new releases before I completed the video, but March 6th there was, and Squatch released a new Terminator bar, I'll Be Brick, which is their 119th bar in their catalog. So good news and bad news. The bad news is it's too late to add the new bar to this rankings video because it would completely throw the rankings off. But the good news is I have the bar here and I can quickly share my thoughts and give an idea where I would have ranked it. I'll Be Brick is the cousin of Energy Bar. It has that same citrus note as Energy Bar, but combined with some note of metal or aluminum or something. It's kind of hard to describe. So because of that aluminum scent or whatever note that is, it doesn't smell exactly like Energy Bar, even though it does share the same citrus note. So the scent itself is original. I made a review 3 days ago and my first impression was that the scent was okay. Now it's a different story. The day after that review, I downgraded this to my dislike tier. But now, 3 days later, it's going in my hate tier and being stored away in the forbidden box. Whatever that metal or aluminum scent is or whatever, it is grotesque. It smells like it's getting more powerful by the day. Last night I was prepping the love tier. I've got all these great bars on my desk, and when I came in my room this morning, the room reeked and I was confused. I'm like, why does this room stink when I have all of these great bars for my love tier all over my desk? And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I realized this bar was sitting out and it was reeking the entire room. This scent is literally starting to make me nauseous. I think this one would probably be probably right in front of Suds of Darkness, probably like right around Raptor Rush, Suds of Darkness. So ranked somewhere 112th, 111th. Also, it's listed as a medium grit, but when I used it in the shower, it was more like a light grit bar. And the red dye ran all over the place, just like Count Sudzilla. But it doesn't smell nearly as good as Count Sudzilla. So not only does it reek, but it's very mid in the shower as well. If you recall, I did put the Predator Purge bar in my hate tier because of the scent, but I talked about how great the performance was in the shower. But this bar reeks and sucks in the shower. So I'm going to go ahead and stash this away in the forbidden box where it belongs. Then I'm going to shower. Then I'll come back and we'll finally get into the love tier. If they ever re-release this bar, I surely will not be back. And now, kicking off the love tier, coming in at number 22, Grapefruit IPA. This bar has a scent of grapefruit and beer. When I first tried this bar, it was called Crisp IPA. And when I first smelled it out of the box, I hated it because I did not care for that grapefruit scent at all. But then I used it in the shower, and that note of grapefruit warms up and perfectly blends in with the beer hops and smells great. The scent was nice and warm, not loud and offensive. It smells natural and not synthetic. So after using it for the first time, I was surprised how much I liked it, and I instantly changed my mind. And now it's in my love tier, and I would say is probably Dr. Squatch's best overall citrus bar. Much better than this cheap smelling summer citrus. Number 21, Cool Fresh Aloe. This is just such a nice, clean, fresh scent with a note of aloe vera. This would be a perfect bar for summer. It'd be really good to shower with if you got any kind of sunburn, and the aloe vera would really help soothe your skin. Just a really nice, clean scent. If you haven't tried this bar yet, add it to your cart on your next Dr. Squatch order. Number 20, a baby bar directly created from Darkside Scrub and Resistance Rinse, Divine Storm. This is literally Darkside Scrub and Resistance Rinse mixed together. It's not just my opinion, you can smell for yourself. But the funny thing is, Darkside Scrub is also actually Resistance Rinse with charcoal. So essentially they took the Darkside Scrub bar and blended the black portion and the pink portion together to create Divine Storm. And I am all here for it. I love what they did with this bar. Squatch, this is how you combine scents in a creative way. These two contrasting scents blend together so well. And Divine Storm is really good in the shower and feels great on the skin, which is why I promoted it from my like tier to my love tier. And I really love this scent too. Number 19, Wisdom Wash. I absolutely love the scent of this bar. It has a really nice lime citrus note, similar to Mysterio Magic and Alien Awakening, but this one is even better. This is the last citrus bar left to cover on this video, and I'd say Wisdom Wash and Grapefruit IPA are the two best citrus bars in the Dr. Squatch catalog. The only negative about Wisdom Wash is that it was a little underwhelming to me in the shower. It wasn't bad, but I was hoping for more. I would say Grapefruit IPA performs much better in the shower, but Wisdom Wash smells better and is the best smelling citrus bar in the Dr. Squatch catalog, which is why I ultimately decided to rank it slightly ahead of Grapefruit IPA. Another $1 million idea? Merge these two bars together. Number 18, Deep Sea Goat's Milk. This was the bar I always said was the best bar in the Dr. Squatch catalog for your skin. And then they came out with the Total Moisture bars, so those are probably the best Squatch has to offer for people with sensitive skin. And those are good bars, but if you're looking for a bar that's really good for your skin and has a better scent with a little more personality, you should definitely try Deep Sea Goat's Milk. Unlike the Total Moisture bars, this bar has some grit and you can really see the little pieces of oat exfoliant in there. The scent is very light but nice. It's just an all-around great bar and a bar that I think women would love as well. Number 17, and the Batman Bricks identical twin brother, practically the same bar. Number 17, Maverick Musk. I was so glad when I got this bar and discovered that it's basically a toned down Batman brick, which was something I was hoping Squatch would make. I love the Batman brick, but the problem for me is when it's lathered up, the scent gets too strong and upsets my stomach. But the Maverick Musk bar doesn't do that. It smells essentially the same, but it's just toned down a tad, which is just perfect for me. It has a nice leather note and some kind of cream scent, combined with a subtle note of smoke. It smells like a nice cologne. This is advertised as a heavy grit bar, but once again, it's more like a light or medium grit bar. But it's great in the shower nonetheless. And this is another scent Dr. Squatch should turn into a cologne. Number 16, Polar Rush. This is what Frosty Peppermint should have smelled like. This one has a great scent. It smells like a really nice blend of peppermint and spearmint. Alongside the mint scent, it has menthol and charcoal, and here you can really see the charcoal in there. Now this one is advertised as heavy grit, but it feels more like a nice medium grit bar to me. I think the grit is perfect on this bar. I love the way this bar feels. When this was first released, I thought that it was a new full-time bar, but turns out that it's limited edition, which I think is a mistake. This should definitely be available full-time. It's far better than Coastal Mist and Lumberjack Lodge. But hopefully this gets re-released during the winter season, and if it does, you should definitely give it a try. Number 15, and this is sad. Bliss Brick. Look at this. The indigo dye has completely faded, and it has basically no scent left either. But it's not the mere fact that the scent has faded that's sad. What's sad is that this is the most recent bar available. Look at that. I got this in the summer of 2023, nearly 3 years ago, in no re-release. This is what the bar used to look like. A really nice indigo blue shade. Now look at it. This bar had such a nice, calm, pleasant lavender scent. I like it so much that it's ranked number 15. It's in my love tier. So this bar is ranked ahead of over 100 other bars in the Dr. Squatch catalog. And it's unlikely that I'll ever get to buy another bar again. And they have done this with a slew of other limited edition bars that I'll talk about in more detail momentarily. Bliss Brick is a bar that would appeal to those of us who like softer scents. I actually used the other Bliss Brick bar I had as a hand soap, and it was great. And I wanted to order another couple of these bars, but of course I couldn't. I think Squatch should start making hand soap. Smaller rectangular shaped bars with softer scents, and Bliss Brick would be a great hand soap. Some bars seem better suited for the shower, while others would make a better hand soap. Deep Sea Goat's Milk would make a great hand soap, and I think Wisdom Wash would as well. And this Mountain Meadow bar feels more like a hand soap than a bar that you would scrub your body with in a shower. Number 14, and this is my biggest jumper from my previous rankings. Coming in the love tier, number 14, Coconut Castaway. Okay, let me explain why I changed my position on this bar. When I first got this bar, I got it on its very first batch. So when I got the bar, I don't think it had even finished curing. You can see the flakes falling off of it during my review. And it had this odd rubber chemical scent, and I remember that turning me off. But last year, I decided to try a new bar out, and it's so good now. That chemical scent is gone. It's so much better. And this performs really well in the shower. Very smooth, light grit, and has a really nice, creamy lather. This has now become one of my favorite bars, which is why it's been promoted to my love tier. Number 13, Pine Tar. This was another bar that I hated the scent of when I first smelled it out of the box. But then I used it in the shower, and the scent opened up and smells so much better now. And instantly jumped into my love tier. It doesn't really smell natural. It has a mild synthetic scent, but whatever fragrance they use here smells great. And this is one of those bars labeled heavy grit. It is actually heavy grit, as you can see. It has nice oud exfoliant and also has charcoal. And I love the texture of this bar as well. It feels really good. I'd say this is one of the 3 grittiest bars in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog. The other 2 being Moonrock and Cold Brew Cleanse. I'd say these are probably the 3 grittiest bars that Dr. Squatch has produced, so if you're looking for a really gritty bar, you should try one of these 3. Unfortunately, Moonrock is limited edition, so it's not available often. But Pine Tar and Cold Brew Cleanse are in the regular lineup on the Dr. Squatch website. And you can find Pine Tar in a lot of stores. Let us know in the comments which other bars would you say are the most gritty in the Dr. Squatch catalog. Number 12, a Dr. Squatch signature, Fresh Falls. This has such a nice, distinctive, original scent. Haven't smelled anything quite like this from any other natural soap company. I would say this is their signature bar. It's a nice, smooth, zero grit bar, and I really like that shade of blue. And this scent translates well to all of their other products. The deodorant is awesome, the lotion smells good, and the shampoo and conditioner works really well. You just can't go wrong with Fresh Falls. If anyone is looking to try Dr. Squatch for the first time and you're not really sure where to begin, I recommend trying Fresh Falls because it's a very unique scent exclusive to Squatch that you're not going to find anywhere else. And I think it's one of those rare scents that pretty much everyone would like it. Maybe not everyone would love it, but I don't think many people would dislike it. So Fresh Falls would be the perfect bar to start out with. Just don't start out with Coastal Mist. Alright, so that's the first half of the love tier. I'm going to go ahead and stop here for now and come back tomorrow and finish the love tier and complete this rankings video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. And if you want to help support the channel or tip me for the work I put into this video, I have a PayPal and a Cash App link on the homepage. All donations are appreciated and would go towards making more content like this. Alright, we are back to finish up the love tier and finally conclude this rankings video. Coming in at number 11 and one that you're going to be shocked by. I'm surprised myself, but I don't really care who disagrees because I love this bar, and that is Kong Crush. This has such a unique scent. It's very complex. It has a nice cedarwood note combined with a subtle smoky note. And then like this warm incense note. It's kind of hard to describe, but it all blends in perfectly together. It has like this bitter sweetness. I'll show you what it looks like up close. It's a nice medium grit bar. And I would agree that it's medium grit, but it's on the lighter side of medium grit. It's good in the shower, but it's the scent that makes this bar stand out. So I was extremely close at ranking this number 10, but ultimately, I just couldn't slip it past number 10, Stone IPA. Unfortunately, I've run into the same dilemma with Stone IPA that I have with Bliss Brick. Squatch won't re-release it, so the bar I have is nearly 5 years old. So as you can see, it's discolored. That nice teal green is now a burnt green. And there's practically no scent left. This bar had charcoal, menthol, and beer hops, and the scent opened up and came alive in the shower. This was one of their top tier bars in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog for performance in the shower. And that ultimately is why I chose it at the 10 spot over Kong Crush. But I'm quite sure that I'm going to run into the same problem with Kong Crush as I have with Stone IPA and Bliss Brick. They're not going to re-release this bar once this current batch is gone. I love these 3 bars, and it's unlikely I'll ever get to buy a new one down the road. Why produce a bar if you refuse to ever re-release it? Squatch should re-release each of their limited edition bars every 2 years or so, 3 years at the max. But don't produce an extraordinary bar like Stone IPA and then never re-release it. I love this bar, which is why it's ranked number 10 out of 118/119 bars in the catalog, and it's crazy to think that I'll never be able to buy another one of these bars again. But unfortunately, that's what it looks like. All right, number 9, and I know a lot of people are going to think that I'm crazy for this, and again, I don't care what other people think because this is the most underrated bar in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog, and that is Spearmint Basil. Sometimes simple just works better, and that's precisely what this bar is. Just a perfect blend of spearmint and basil. It's a nice smooth bar, and you can see some specks in there that are actually peppermint leaves. So you've got spearmint and basil and peppermint leaves, and it all just works so well together. The strength is just right, and it smells nice and natural. If you like the scent of spearmint and you haven't tried this one yet, add this one to your cart on your next Dr. Squatch order. Number 8, in a welcome newcomer to my love tier, a bar that I actually missed out on its first release, but was able to grab a bar on its re-release. See why it's important to re-release your bars? Think of all those who missed out on Stone IPA on its first release and still haven't got to try it. So re-release this. All that to say, my number 8, Ninny Scrubbins. This one definitely surprised me because I was not expecting to like a Christmas themed bar with a marshmallow scent, but they made it work. This is another complex scent. The first note that jumps out at you is pine. It smells a bit like a Christmas tree. But then when you use it in the shower, the marshmallow scent opens up and buries the pine scent, and then your whole shower smells like a warm dessert. It's complex and hard to describe, but in the best way possible. It doesn't smell like marshmallow straight up, but more like a warm dessert with melted marshmallow on top, like a sweet potato pie or something. And then it has some other very subtle notes, like I can slightly detect a note of cranberry or something. And I don't know if it's my imagination or maybe my odd sense of smell, but I detect a slight note of cola, like Coca-Cola. When I first smelled this bar out of the box, I thought it was decent. But once I used it in the shower, not only did that scent open up, but it also felt great on the skin. A very nice light grit bar and performed really well in the shower. I was amazed how much I love this bar. It really caught me by surprise. This is how you do a holiday bar, Squatch, and thank you for re-releasing it. Number 7 in the last bar from the original Star Wars collection, Only Hope Soap. This was a bar that grew on me. When I first smelled it, I thought it was okay, but not anything special. And the scent is still not one of my favorites, but it has grown on me and I like it. The scent is hard to describe. It smells a bit like a potpourri, but it's a very light scent. But the scent is not the strength of this bar. The reason I have this ranked so high is because of the way this feels on my skin. It has bentonite clay and feels amazing. In fact, this would be my number 1 bar in the entire Dr. Squatch catalog based on the way it feels. And to show you this isn't just my imagination, I googled bentonite clay. Bentonite clay is a natural absorbent volcanic ash compound rich in minerals like silica, calcium, and magnesium. Renowned for its ability to bind to and remove toxins, it is widely used for skin care, treating acne and impurities, hair care, and as an internal detoxifier. It works by creating a negative charge that attracts positively charged toxins, making it effective for skin detox and potentially managing digestive issues. And that is a totally accurate assessment. Now I'll show you what it looks like up close. I cut these bars into pieces and used as a hand soap, and every time I washed my hands, they felt so good. And the light scent lingered and smelled really good on my hands. So I was always looking for an excuse to wash my hands. And this is another bar that I think women would also love to use. And note to Squatch, I know you have filtered out the inventory from the original Star Wars collection, but please do not let this bar go extinct. If you're not ever going to re-release the original Star Wars collection, please repackage Only Hope Soap into a new full-time bar. Number 6, and this is about where I would rank the new Gold Moss. Now let me clarify, the OG Gold Moss Scrub would still be my number 1 if they were still producing it. But since they replaced it like 4 years ago, I have to rank the new Gold Moss bar. And the new Gold Moss is still great in its own right. It's just that it pales in comparison to the original. But this bar, like Only Hope Soap, also feels really good on the skin. Not as good as Only Hope Soap, but very good nonetheless. But the reason I have it slightly ranked ahead of Only Hope Soap is just because I like this scent better. Even though this isn't as good as the original, it still has a really nice scent. And this is another unique scent that I feel is exclusive to Dr. Squatch. I haven't really smelled anything quite like it from any other natural soap company. It has a nice, warm amber scent with a sweet note of brown sugar or something. And a very subtle, earthy note of oak or something. It's hard to describe, but it's a really pleasant scent. I'll show you what the bar looks like up close. This is a very smooth zero grit bar, and it feels really good on your skin in the shower. And this is another bar that I also think women would love. And I'm actually surprised that Squatch has never released any kind of Gold Moss products other than the soap bars. I think this would make an excellent deodorant, shampoo, or lotion. Squatch, I think it's time to expand the Gold Moss lineup. And now we are getting to the top 5. Number 5, something Squatch did do right in 2025, a new addition to the full-time lineup, Sandalwood Summit. And number 4, its twin brother bar, Brick of the Dead. This was a great move, Squatch. They took limited edition bar Brick of the Dead, which was one of my favorite scents, and then repackaged it and called it Sandalwood Summit. And since Sandalwood Summit is in the full-time lineup, that means This scent is now available all year round. Genius! The only minute difference between these two scents is that the vanilla note is toned down on the Sandalwood Summit. Other than that, you can't really tell a difference at all. So this is another one of those complex bars that's hard to describe the scent. It has an earthy scent with a note of vanilla and also a very subtle note of black pepper. It smells a little peppery. As crazy as it sounds, this actually smells like the ground with a note of vanilla and black pepper. I know that doesn't sound appealing, but it actually smells like cologne. And this is another unique scent created by Squatch that I haven't smelled anything quite like from any other natural soap company. And the reason I ranked Brick of the Dead ahead of Sandalwood Summit is because I think Brick of the Dead is a little better in the shower. Go ahead and open up Sandalwood Summit. They are both good in the shower, but I think Brick of the Dead is a tad stronger. And I like the texture of the Brick of the Dead bar a little more than Sandalwood Summit. And I'll show you what this one looks like up close as well. But there aren't really any significant differences. They're nearly identical, and they're both ranked in my top 5 out of 118/119 bars. And Brick of the Dead is the father bar to Sinister Scrub. So Brick of the Dead and Bay Rum mated and had Sinister Scrub and then added a synthetic note of apple cobbler for some reason. Coming in at number 3 and at number 2, another set of sibling bars. Number 3, Wood Barrel Bourbon, and number 2, Headless Rinse. These bars are definitely brothers. Some would say they're identical twins, but I think these scents are a tad different. I would say the Headless Rinse has a stronger note of pumpkin, and the Wood Barrel Bourbon has a stronger note of bourbon. Smells like a cologne from the heavens. I guess God had to counteract that straw hat brick scent from hell. And in case you didn't already know, Headless Rinse is essentially the same scent as the OG Drunken Pumpkin. They didn't re-release the OG Drunken Pumpkin bar like they should have, but they did create a new bar with essentially the same scent and called it Headless Rinse. I think the biggest difference between these two bars is that Headless Rinse has a slightly stronger pumpkin note, while the OG Drunken Pumpkin has a slightly stronger bourbon note. And Headless Rinse has this very subtle note of pineapple added to it that the OG Drunken Pumpkin bar didn't have, but I actually think it works well. Now I'll show you what it looks like up close. This is a smooth zero grit bar with charcoal that is great for your skin. Now I'll show you Wood Barrel Bourbon. This is a nice medium grit bar. And you can see this one looks a little grittier. Both of these bars are good in the shower, but the strength of these bars are not in their performance, but in their scent. Smells so good. Ultimately, I ranked Headless Rinse at number 2 slightly ahead of Wood Barrel Bourbon just because I think the pumpkin note is a tad better than the bourbon note, but honestly, it could go either way. After all, these are ranked number 2 and 3 out of 118/119 bars. But as great as those two bars are, there's just one that I think is a tad better. And that is another new 2025 edition, number 1. Spiked Cider. This scent may be the best smelling scent that Dr. Squatch has ever produced. Or at least the best since the OG bars. But I'd say this is on par with the OG Drunken Pumpkin and OG Irish Cream and Whiskey. It's that good. Now I'll show you what this looks like up close. This is a smooth zero grit bar, and it has a nice lather. It's good in the shower, but the strength is not in the performance. It's in the scent. Spiked cider is another one of these complex scents that's kind of hard to describe. It has a nice, warm, sweet scent, like a warm dessert. It smells like a cross between a pumpkin pie and a cobbler. It smells like a pumpkin pie cobbler. But not like an apple cobbler like Sinister Scrub, but more like a pear cobbler. With a note of cinnamon and a hint of orange citrus. Like I said, it's a complex bar, but I really think the majority of you would love this scent. Unfortunately, this is another limited edition bar, so Squatch, please re-release this bar in the fall. I would hate for it never to be released again, and then in like 2030, it looks like this. All right, we have finally reached the end. That concludes ranking all 118/119 bars in the Dr. Squatch catalog as of March 12th, 2026. But I'm sure by the end of the year, Squatch will be up to 135 to 140 bars as they continue to release new bars fast and furiously. Maybe I'll do a revised rankings then. Let me know in the comments if that's something you want to see. Be sure to share this with others, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more videos like this.